Have you ever felt completely immersed in a story to the point of forgetting the world around you? What if that story began to intertwine with reality in disturbing and unexpected ways? Today, on Midnight Mysteries, I, Raven Shadowmere, bring you a fascinating and chilling account of a night that forever changed the lives of a group of friends, all through a simple RPG session. It was an ordinary night in 2019, in a small town in the United States. Alex, Emily, Josh, and Megan gathered as usual to play RPG, a game they loved that transported them to worlds filled with mysteries and adventures. But that night, something felt different. Alex's house seemed shrouded in a strange aura, and the shadows on the walls appeared to dance with a life of their own. What started as a typical night of fun and laughter would soon transform into something much darker and inexplicable. As the session progressed, tensions rose, and the group began to realize that not everything was as it seemed. The ghost stories that Alex told began to come to life, and the line between the game and reality started to blur. A feeling of unease settled in the room, and soon, a blackout plunged everyone into total darkness. What happened next is something they would know. Stay with me until the end, as a dark secret and an unexpected twist will be revealed, and I promise you won't want to miss it. But before we begin, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our terrifying. After all, who doesn't enjoy a bit of mystery before bed? And maybe, just maybe, this mystery is closer to reality than we would like to admit. Now, let's dive into this psychological horror story and see how a tabletop RPG turned into a true nightmare. Because in the end, not all legends are just stories, or are they? From the RPG Horror Stories series. The clock struck exactly 7 o'clock at night when I arrived at Alex's house. The atmosphere was already heavy, as if the house itself was aware of what was about to unfold. The smell of popcorn popping in the kitchen mingled with the aroma of lit candles, which Alex always used to create a darker mood during our RPG sessions. He loved it, and I did too, but there was something different in the air that night. A strange sensation, as if the shadows on the walls seemed to move. "Hey Alex," I said, forcing a smile as I walked in. "Looks like you're all set for a real nightmare tonight." "Get ready, Emily," he replied, a glint in his eyes. "Tonight we're venturing into a haunted town, full of urban legends. I can't wait to see how you all fare." As I entered, I spotted Josh already sitting at the table, with a cynical look only he could maintain. He was fiddling with his phone, probably searching for some tasteless joke to surprise us later. Megan, the newcomer, was sitting next to him, her face etched with anxiety. I could tell she was nervous, but also excited to finally integrate into our group. "Hey Megan," I said, trying to reassure her, "you're going to love this adventure. Alex is the best master there is." "Yeah, I hope so," she replied, forcing a smile. "I just hope I don't get lost in the rules." "Don't worry, you'll do just fine. Just go with the flow," I said, trying to give her more confidence. Alex arranged the miniatures on the table and began to explain the setting. He described the town, full of mysteries, with dark streets and ghost stories. As he spoke, a sense of anticipation and tension grew among us. "You'll soon realize that not everything is as it seems," Alex said, with an enigmatic tone in his voice. "The legends have a life of their own, and the secrets you uncover may be darker than you imagine." As the session began, the tension in the air intensified. We were in a tavern, discussing rumors about mysterious disappearances. The atmosphere was so well crafted that I could almost feel the cold wind blowing through the windows. Alex described a group of people who had vanished, and as the details unfolded, a strange presence seemed to linger over us. I looked at my friends and noticed that everyone was deeply immersed in the story, except for Josh, who seemed more interested in provoking. "So, what do you think?" "The ghost probably just wants attention, right?" Josh commented, not looking up. "Josh, this isn't the time for jokes," I said, trying to keep the focus. "We're trying to take this adventure seriously." "Oh, come on, it's just a game," he retorted, laughing. "You guys are taking it too seriously. Where's the fun in that?" "Fun is when you really get involved, Josh. It's not just about making jokes," Megan chimed in. still nervous but showing some courage. Alex, sensing the tension beginning to rise, tried to intervene. "Come on, guys. Remember, we're here to have fun. Now, what do you decide to do? Investigate the town or look for more information at the tavern?" The conversation flowed, but I couldn't shake the weight of the negative energy that was starting to envelop us. With each moment, the tension grew. I was so immersed in the story that, for a brief moment, I almost managed to visualize the shadows moving around us. Something inside me told me that this night would not be like the others. And though I tried to ignore it, the feeling that we were about to cross a line we couldn't return from began to deeply unsettle me. The atmosphere in Alex's room was so thick that it felt like the air had turned into a heavy cloak on our shoulders. The game scene had progressed to a crucial moment where an important character, an old mentor who had guided our heroes through so many journeys, was sacrificed in a desperate battle against a malevolent entity. I felt awful, not only for the loss of the character, but because this death resonated with me in an unexpected way. A wave of emotions enveloped me, and I couldn't hold back the tears that began to slip down my face. "No, this can't be happening," I exclaimed, my voice choked. "He deserved more than this. He was always so wise and kind." Josh, with his typical sarcastic smile, didn't miss the chance to provoke. "Oh, Emily, are you really caring about a fictional character? Come on, it's just a game." My face burned with anger and indignation. "You don't understand. It's not just a game for me. Calm down, everyone. Let's try to keep our cool." Alex intervened, attempting to calm the situation. He always had a way of mediating things, but this time it seemed the tensions were beyond what he could control. "No, Alex, you're not getting it," I continued, frustration overflowing. "This is about more than just the game. It's about how we connect. And this death was so absurd." Josh just laughed, and that made me even angrier. "Of course it's absurd. It's a horror RPG, Emily. You should expect bad things to happen. If you can't handle it, maybe you should rethink if this is your place here. You can't just dismiss people's feelings." Megan, who had been quiet until that moment, stood up. I looked at her in surprise. She had always been more timid. "Emily is right. The game is intense, and we care about the characters." The tension in the room escalated, and I realized that divisions were forming. Josh was about to respond, but Alex quickly cut in. "Let's focus on the game, everyone. We need to move forward, and the story won't wait for us." However, the division had already been made. The heavy atmosphere settled like a dark cloud over us. Trying to ignore the discord, Alex continued narrating the events, but I could barely pay attention. My mind was spinning around the argument. What had happened to our friendship? Why had a game caused so much misunderstanding? Finally, when the tension seemed unbearable and voices began to rise, a sudden blackout fell over the house. The lights went out and silence settled like a deafening scream. The darkness was total and fear took hold of me. What was happening? It was as if the game had invaded reality in a terrifying way. "Alex," I called, my voice trembling. There was no answer. The silence was oppressive and the darkness felt alive, as if it was watching us. "This isn't funny, Alex," Josh shouted, his voice echoing in the void. I could hear the panic in his tone. "What's happening?" Megan whispered, her voice low and trembling. I didn't know what to think. We were trapped in a game that had become much more real than I could have imagined, and the tension that had begun in words now manifested in a silence that seemed to cut the air. The room was filled with insecurity, and I couldn't help but feel that the darkness was not just physical, but also symbolic, reflecting our internal conflicts. As we all remained silent, enveloped by the darkness, a sense of unease settled in my heart. What would happen now? The shadows surrounding us seemed to whisper secrets we weren't ready to hear. The lights came back on, but the tension in the air felt denser than before. I looked around the table, feeling the weight of unspoken emotions hanging between us. Alex cleared his throat, trying to regain control. "Okay guys, let's continue the session. You were about to explore the abandoned house where the rumors about the haunted spirit began. I know it's just a game, but do you really think you can ignore what happened?" Emily shot back. her voice trembling with a mix of anger and pain. Josh has no right to dismiss my feelings like that. Oh, come on, Emily, Josh replied with a sarcastic smirk. Do you really think we're here to do therapy? It's just a game and you're taking it way too seriously. I'm taking it seriously because you're being a jerk, Emily screamed, her face now red with indignation. Don't you realize this isn't just about what happens in the game? It's about us, here, now. Megan, who had been quiet until then, decided to intervene. Guys, let's try to stay calm. Alex, maybe you could change the game's approach so everyone feels more comfortable. I don't need a change. What I need is for Josh to stop being a jerk, Emily retorted, frustration overflowing. Calm down, everyone. Let's focus on the game, Alex said, trying to ease the situation. Remember, we're here to have fun. Have fun? With a vibe like this? Josh taunted, crossing his arms. Just because you're feeling down doesn't mean I have to change how I play. I'm not asking you to change your way of playing. I'm asking you to show a little empathy, Emily replied, her voice now more restrained but still full of emotion. This isn't just about the rules. It's about how we feel. If you can't separate the game from real life, maybe you shouldn't be here, Josh shot back, his acidic tone cutting through the heavy air. Enough, I shouted, frustration bursting within me. This isn't going to lead anywhere. If we keep this up, we're going to end up destroying the session and the friendship we have. We all came here to have fun, not to fight. The room fell silent, and it seemed like everyone was reflecting on their words. Alex slumped back in his chair, clearly exhausted. Emily, you're right to feel this way. Josh, maybe you should think before you speak. Let's try to resolve this while we play. How about? The tension was still palpable, but the idea of continuing seemed to be the only viable alternative. All right, Emily said, her tone softer, but I need everyone here to respect how I feel. I can do that, Josh replied, though his attitude still seemed defensive. I just won't let you stop me from having fun. And I'm not asking for that, Emily exclaimed, her voice almost pleading. I just want you to understand that your words carry weight. Okay, let's go, Alex said, trying to restart the session. You enter the haunted house, the atmosphere is heavy, and you feel something watching you. As Alex spoke, I realized that the tension hadn't completely dissipated. The interactions were harsh, as if the game was reflecting the reality in a distorted way. Alex's character, a manipulative villain who fed on fear and discord, seemed to echo what was happening between us. You are confronted by the spirit of the house, Alex continued, his voice graver. It whispers secrets that could destroy your friendship. That's a bit dramatic, isn't it? Josh said with a sarcastic smile. Maybe the spirit has a point. Shut up, Josh, I said, unable to contain myself any longer. This isn't the time for jokes. Sorry, just trying to lighten the mood, he replied. But if I looked closely, I could see he was enjoying the provocation. If the spirit is really whispering secrets, maybe it knows something about you, Josh, Megan commented, trying to divert the conversation. What do you fear? Fear? I'm not afraid of anything, Josh replied, but his voice sounded a bit less secure. The room was filled with tension, but at the same time, there was a strange relief in seeing that even amid the discord, there was still room for teasing and friendship. It was as if the game, with all its elements of terror and horror, was forcing us to confront what we really felt about each other. And at the same time, reminding us that although shadows might close in, we were still friends, even if by a thread. The tension in the room was palpable. The faces of my friends were illuminated only by the dim light of the candles Alex had lit to create a more intense atmosphere. The smell of popcorn that had dominated the environment now felt suffocating, as if the room itself was watching us, waiting for the next twist. So, are you really going to let your character get captured like this? Josh teased, laughing sarcastically. Is this serious? Do you really want him to fall into the villain's clutches just because you're scared of losing? Hey, this is part of the story. You don't understand anything about narrative, Emily replied, her voice trembling with emotion. I knew she was about to explode. The villain in the game, who was a creation of Alex, had captured her character in a dramatic moment, and her frustration was understandable. But instead of supporting her, Josh seemed to be feeding the fire, which only grew. You're defending the logic of a role-playing game, Josh. That doesn't make sense. What matters is the emotional experience, and you're just being a jerk. Megan intervened, her voice loud and clear, but filled with nervousness. I could see she was trying to find her place amid the chaos. Jerk? Is that how you want to label one of your friends? Josh shot back, his tone acidic. If you can't handle the pressure of the game, maybe you should reconsider whether you should be here. The situation was spiraling out of control. I felt like I was in a horror movie, where the tension grew with every second. Guys, calm down, I said, trying to take on the role of mediator. Let's focus on the game. This is about all of us, not just one character. It's easy for you to say that, Alex. You're not in Emily's position. Josh replied, crossing his arms, clearly disappointed. You always act like you know everything, but that's not true. The room fell silent. The echo of Josh's last phrase hung in the air, and for a moment, we all seemed to get lost in our own thoughts. The game was turning into something much more real than any of us could have imagined. The line between fiction and reality was blurring, and I didn't know how to bring back the fun we had at the beginning of the night. Don't you see? This is all an allegory, Megan said with a determined look. The villain could be a representation of what we're feeling here. This fight, this tension, it's all part of what we're facing together. An allegory? Please, it's just a game. And you're defending the narrative like it's real life, Josh countered, but I noticed he was starting to hesitate. What Megan said seemed to hit a sensitive point. But it's real for us, Emily yelled, tears beginning to form in her eyes. We're playing, but we're also dealing with our own frustrations. Whatever is happening in the game reflects what's happening between us. The atmosphere grew tense again, as if the room was about to explode with a new wave of emotions. I looked at each of them, trying to find a way to bring the group back together. Look, we all have our frustrations, but we can't let that destroy the experience we're having together. Let's try to resolve this as a team, just like our characters would. So what do you suggest, Alex? Should we just ignore what's happening and move on? Josh asked, his voice now calmer but still challenging. I'm not saying that. What I want is for all of us to talk. If we don't resolve our differences, this session isn't going anywhere. And honestly, I don't want it to end like this. I enjoy playing with you guys, I said, trying to convey the sincerity in my words. A heavy silence followed, and I could feel the tension slowly diminishing, although frustration still lingered. They seemed to be pondering everything that had been said, and I hoped that would be enough to take us to a better place. But something in the atmosphere told me there was still more to be revealed, more secrets buried beneath the surface of those conversations. The night was far from over. The air was thick, almost palpable, as I looked at the board, trying to focus on the game. The silence that followed Alex's proposal still echoed in my mind. He had asked us to resolve our differences, but the tension between Emily and Josh felt like a storm about to break. It was as if the atmosphere around us was charged with electricity, and the game, which should have been a fun escape, was turning into an emotional battlefield. Come on, guys, what do you decide? Alex asked, trying to keep calm in his voice. We need to move on. I don't know if I can, Alex, Emily said, her voice trembling. It feels like we're here playing, but we're actually fighting. I just want to feel comfortable, and that's not happening. Oh, please, Emily. You're exaggerating, Josh shot back, his sarcastic tone cutting through the air. It's just a game. You don't need to take everything so seriously. It's not just a game, Josh. I couldn't hold back and interjected. For Emily, this is much deeper. Look at what you said before. You can't just ignore her feelings. Look who's talking, the defender of justice, Josh replied, turning his face away from me. You were quiet until now. The tension escalated, and I could feel the heat of frustration rising in my face. Is that what you do, huh? You try to belittle people when they're feeling vulnerable. Why don't you try being a little more empathetic? Empathy is for the weak, Josh retorted, laughing. If you can't handle this, maybe you should just leave the game. Enough, Alex shouted, slamming his hand on the table. If you don't stop this, I'm going to end the session. Nobody here is having fun." Alex's words hung in the air, and a heavy silence settled in the room. I looked at Emily, who seemed lost, and at Megan, who looked as anxious as she did at the start of the night. It was a vicious cycle, and we couldn't see a way out. After a moment of tension, Alex tried to shift the focus. "Let's continue. The villain is about to make a move. What do you do?" He looked at us, but the division was still evident. It was then that Emily's idea began to take shape in my mind. "Wait," I said, trying to regain the group's attention. "What if, instead of fighting, we united against the villain? After all, we're all playing against him." "Are you talking about a strategy?" Megan asked, looking intrigued. "That could work." "Exactly," Emily exclaimed, the spark of determination starting to shine in her eyes again. "If we're united, maybe we can overcome his strength." "I don't know. What if it doesn't work?" Josh said, his skepticism evident. "I think you all are just deluding yourselves. Is that what you do, huh? Discredit others?" Emily replied, frustration returning. "Instead of helping, you just throw more fuel on the fire." "I'm just being realistic," Josh retorted, crossing his arms. "Realistic or not, we need to try," I said, feeling it was my responsibility to maintain peace. "What do you think, Alex? Can we try this strategy?" Alex nodded slowly. "If you think this can work, let's go for it. What do you have in mind, Emily?" She took a deep breath, and I could see her determination growing. "Let's attack together. We need to coordinate our moves and use our combined skills. That might surprise the villain." "Sounds like a fantastic idea," Megan affirmed, excited. "We can really do this." As we discussed the strategy, the tension began to dissipate. It was as if the idea of uniting to face a common enemy was breaking down the barriers that separated us. Deep down, we all wanted the same thing: fun, friendship, and an escape from the dark world Alex had created. However, the shadow of Josh's skepticism still loomed over us. I knew the road to reconciliation wouldn't be easy, but in that moment, the hope that we could emerge from this situation together kept me steady. The game might just be a reflection of our lives, and maybe, just like the characters we portrayed, we could also overcome our own internal battles. The atmosphere was tense, almost palpable, as we prepared for the final confrontation in the game. The room, a mix of light and shadows cast by the candles Alex had lit, seemed to vibrate with the energy accumulated from our discussions. I, Emily, felt my heart race, not just from the adrenaline of the RPG, but from the tumultuous emotions still bubbling inside me. The villain, a distorted representation of our frustrations, was about to be confronted, but the hardest battle was still between us. "I'm going to take a risk," I declared, trying to sound confident. "I want to use the ability that reveals the villain's darkest secret." Silence fell. The expressions on Josh, Megan, and Alex became serious. I knew this move could change everything. "Do you really think this will work?" Josh asked, his tone skeptical, but a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. "It's the only way to understand what we're up against," I replied, looking directly at him. "We need to face the truth." Alex nodded. "Go for it, Emily. If you feel this is the right moment, do it." With a dramatic gesture, I rolled the die and waited. The sound of the die rolling echoed in the room, and I could feel everyone's breath as it finally came to a stop. The number was high. Immediately, the atmosphere shifted. The villain, once unbeatable, began to fade, revealing his weaknesses, his insecurities, and what had truly shaped him. He is a reflection of ourselves," I exclaimed, the revelation hitting me. "All our frustrations, our insecurities, all of this is manifesting in him." The room fell silent, and Josh's expression changed. The cynical look was replaced by a semblance of understanding. "I didn't realize how toxic I was being," he said, his voice low, almost broken. "I'm sorry, all of you. I shouldn't have made jokes about your feelings, Emily. I just wanted to lighten the mood, but I ended up making it worse." To my surprise, a wave of empathy washed over me. I felt that, in some way, we were all connected in that moment. "I just wanted you to understand that your words hurt. I wasn't just playing a game, you know. I was putting myself out there. Megan, who had been silent until then, finally spoke. I also feel like I didn't do enough to stand up for Emily. I should have spoken up earlier. She looked at me, and a look of sincerity crossed her face. I'm sorry, Emily. It's okay, I replied, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. We all have our struggles. What matters is that we're here now, ready to face this together. Alex, observing the scene, seemed pleased. This is what RPG should be. It's not just a story, it's about us, about how we feel and how we should support each other. He took a deep breath and smiled, excited. Let's defeat this villain as a team. With a newfound determination, we decided to unite our strengths. From that revelation, our collective character began to grow stronger. Each of us contributed our skills, acknowledging our weaknesses and using them to our advantage. The battle that seemed impossible began to feel achievable. Now, together, I shouted as we moved our characters to attack the villain. Let's end this. As the scene unfolded, a wave of positive energy enveloped us. The villain, who once seemed invincible, began to succumb to our attacks. Each roll of the die felt like a celebration. Each victory, a new accomplishment in our relationship. Finally, the villain was defeated. The room erupted in applause and cheers of joy. We did it. We really did it, I exclaimed, laughing and feeling an immense relief. In their souls, the tension, the conflicts, and the revelations were like a mirror, reflecting the repressed feelings and deepest fears of each one. When the light finally returned, everyone there realized that something had changed. The masks had fallen, and what remained was a group of friends who were closer but also more aware of their own vulnerabilities. That game, which was supposed to be an escape from reality, ended up becoming a haunting reflection of their lives. Josh, who always hid his feelings behind sarcastic jokes, finally understood the weight of his words. He saw the impact his behavior had on others, especially Emily, whose excitement for the game was more than just fun. It was a true expression of herself. Megan, who initially was a shy bystander, discovered an inner strength she didn't even know she had, standing up for Emily when she needed it most. And Alex, the game master, learned that sometimes the true challenge isn't telling the story, but understanding the people around you. The experience changed them forever, teaching them that games are not just for fun. They can be a way to explore the darkest corners of our psyche, to understand our fears, and perhaps to connect more deeply with those around us. Life is full of mysteries, and true terror often lies in the emotions and secrets we carry within us. So, what would you do if you were in the same situation? Would you be able to face your fears and the challenges that life throws your way? Leave your comment below. I want to know how you would react to a situation like this. And remember, not everything is as it seems. Sometimes, the true horror is closer than we imagine. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep exploring the mysteries and darkest secrets the world has to offer, don't forget to subscribe to the Midnight Mysteries channel and activate the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any new videos and can continue following all our intriguing and terrifying stories. Oh, and go ahead and give that like, because, let's be honest, you don't want these stories to stay in the dark, do you? By subscribing, you become part of a community that loves a good mystery, a great twist, and of course, a touch of horror. And if you want to go further and share that chill down your spine with your friends, share this video. After all, who doesn't enjoy a scare or two, especially when the story is this good? I thank each of you for watching until the end. You are the reason I continue telling these stories, diving into the darkest mysteries, and bringing to light those secrets that many prefer to keep buried. And who knows, maybe the next time you play an RPG with your friends, you'll look at the shadows with a bit more suspicion. Because as we saw today, not all stories stay just at the game table. And speaking of mysteries, don't forget to check out the next video that will appear on your screen. It will take you even deeper into a world of enigmas and unexplained phenomena. And believe me, you won't want to miss it. So click there and get ready for another journey into the unknown. See you next time, here on Midnight Mysteries. Until then, sleep well, if you can.